guys,
I'm Hallee,
and I'm Jamie.
and this is Literal Nonsense.
Hey guys, welcome back to Literal Nonsense Podcast. We're on episode 4 already.
I can't believe we're already on episode 4.
We're just trucking along. And so this week we're going to be covering the second half of A Court of Mist and Fury. It's chapters 38 to 67, roughly pages 363 to 624. We will tell you that what we're covering every week. Last week we just got so fucking excited that we didn't tell you anything.
We just couldn't wait to talk about the book.
So last week was the first half. This week is the second half. Now you're caught up. Also, exciting news.
We are now on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts, so we're pretty much everywhere you can get podcasts now.
Yeah, so now we can officially say that.
Check us out everywhere you get your podcast from.
Right. It's exciting to be able to say that. So, woohoo, little win for us. Now, if you guys listened to last week's episode, we started doing little baby fan casts for ourselves. I want to point out that we said we think that Margot Robbie would be an excellent Moore. We recorded Thursday. On Friday, SJM and Margot Robbie were caught having coffee together.
Oh, come on. Manifested that shit.
We are powerful beings. Just so you know, if you guys need something done, tell me and Hallee. We'll just speak it into the world. And so I want to point out that right here, sitting here, I'm standing my ground. And I would please, SJM, like Henry Cavill as Rhys and Jason Momoa as Cassian. Thank you.
And what's his name? Daddario?
Oh, Matthew? Daddario?
I don't know his first name. The guy from fucking the Shadowhunters show.
Yes, as.
Yeah.
Oh, also, as you just mentioned, that reminded me. Last week, you said Azriel was a shadow slinger. It's shadow singer.
What?
I was like, that man is slinging shadows.
It's the same thing, bro.
I just laughed. Well, someone texted me about it. One of my friends was
really?
Isn't he a shadow singer? And
no.
I was like, yes.
He's my shadow slinger.
I was like, ooh, I'm going to call Hallee out. So
shit. I'm a fake fan, actually.
Right. And so this week, it's going to be a little bit less manic than last week. Yeah.
We tried to reel it in a little bit. We felt like we came in a little too hot.
If you guys liked it, let us know and we'll keep doing it.
Yeah.
just tell us. But also, I think this half of the book, we also said a lot of quotes from the book because they're simply too fucking good.
Yeah, just complete mic drops.
The way that SJM writes is absolutely beautiful, and certain quotes just give me the chills every time, make me want to cry and throw up every time. So we kind of had to rein it in because we wanted to read a lot of quotes for you guys. So that's kind of how we went for the second half of the book. Again, if you want less quotes and more hysteria, that's fine.
Yeah, give us your feedback. Let us know, comment on our Instagram posts and our stories. Let us know, what you want to hear.
Because we still got 3 more books in the series. So,
yeah. If you just want us to rant and rave, I'm your gal.
We're in for it. And so, yeah, we definitely do rant and rave. But we have all of our epic quotes this book, and we love it. The second half of the book is amazing. And so let's just get into it. I'm ready.
Let's roll.
So last week we ended off when Amren and Feyre got the first half of the Book of Breathings from Summer Court, and now they're back in their townhouse in Valaris. So Amren takes the book, and she realizes that the book is written in this tongue that none of them know. She calls it the Leshan. Oh goodness, I'm gonna butcher how to say this, guys. I'm so sorry in advance. Yeah, is that right?
Hakodesh?
Yeah, it's the Leshan Hakodesh, the holy tongue.
Can we have a translation, please?
Yeah, help us. And Rhys basically had said to all of them, "Oh, I speculated that it could be written in Amren's tongue," and he tells her, "I knew you'd be the only one who could translate this, and if you translate it, chances are maybe there's a spell in here that can return you back to your homeworld." So we're starting to see some multiverse world things popping up.
The beginning.
Right, just the beginning. And so Amren's pumped. So she's happy. She takes the book, and her now task is to see if she can decode it can read it and figure out what the hell's going on with this book. And Mor even tells Reese, she's like, don't mess around with her like that. And he's like, hey, I took a gamble and I was right. Like, don't hate.
It's just because he's so smart.
So smart.
So once they get back, there's a box on the
Uh-oh.
desk. And Pharaoh's like, what is that? And he's like, open it. And inside, there's 3 giant rubies the size of like a chicken egg. And he tells her that they're blood rubies. And basically, in the summer court, when a grave insult has been committed, quote unquote, they send a blood ruby to the offender. So basically, they're being hunted now, and if the summer court comes into contact with them, they're dead.
Which my thing for that is, if you're sending like a blood note or like a bounty on someone, that's a fucking expensive bounty. You're sending them a chicken egg,
They're all fucking rich, man.
I
It's a high
guess.
lord.
Yeah, which and it's actually funny too because
Do you think they
Amryn,
have them like in their arsenal?
yes,
Like they have just like millions of these rubies just to send out to
yeah, they're
people.
ready. Well, and it's funny. That's what I was gonna say is that Amryn, who like loves like jewels and things,
Mhm.
she has hers like on her desk proudly because
Yeah.
she's like pumped about it. She's
Wait,
like,
do,
whatever.
do you think that they take them back after they kill the offender?
Yeah, because yeah, they definitely don't have like thousands. They might have like 10 at a time. Then they gotta kill them and get them back.
Tarquin, we gotta know.
Yeah, please answer our questions.
So, since they have the blood rubies now, like Reese is just feeling extremely guilty.
Yeah, like he feels really badly because while they were there, he realized what a good guy Tarquin is.
Yeah, he feels bad.
Like if it was any of the other High Lords who were like assholes, like Baron of like the Autumn Court, he'd been
Yeah,
like, "Fuck you, like cool, I want to kill you too."
yeah,
But like Tarquin was like kind of a cool guy.
yeah, and they have like the same,
Ideology,
yeah, goals to make the world a better place.
right? But of course, now that Reese is like feeling a little sad boy, it gives us a great chance for Feyre to comfort him.
Yeah, so she's flirty with him. They're vibing, and like she's trying to like get him to laugh, and he's just like not having it though.
But like I feel like he kind of also appreciates it. He's not in the mood, but you're like, okay, she's doing a little bit. Like
Yeah,
she's trying to get him out of it, and he's like, all right, I appreciate this.
yeah, and in this point, like Reese tells Feyre that he finds her attractive, and she's like, "Oh, you do?" And he was like, "Bitch, I've been telling you this whole
Right.
time."
He's like, all these notes I've been writing you, what the fuck do you think they were? And she's
When she
like,
was,
oh,
yeah, like when she was learning how to read, and the notes were like, Rhysand is the most handsome High Lord, and
yeah, like, are you surprised by this? But she's a little dumb, and I'm sure Isaac and Tamlin both didn't really have the moves, so she's confused when someone is actually smooth.
yeah, true.
So,
Yeah, let's go down that lane again.
right, yeah, please find someone who actually has some kind of
Riz.
yeah, thank you. And so after this, Reese has a bad dream. And Feyre's woken up by like this crazy powerful darkness and magic in the house, and she runs to his room and he's like fucking shit up with his powers. And she's screaming his name and she's trying to get him out of it. And so finally he does get out of it, and she's the one to pull him out and help him how he had helped her prior.
Aww.
Which, yeah, so cute. But he's completely naked, and she's like, "Oh, like fuck." And he's all vulnerable, so she's trying to be like nice,
Yeah.
and she's like, "I'm trying not to look below the waist." Like she's trying her best, but she does a really great job, and she doesn't look below his waist, and she comforts him even though there's this super hot naked man in front of her. So great. And when she's in there, she realizes, oh, I want to paint him like this broken, sad man, which I mean, weird ass flex, but okay.
Yeah.
And so she realizes she wants to paint him, and it's one of the first times we see her wanting to paint again. And she reflects on that after she goes back to her room. And she basically says, a painting flashed into my mind, flashed and stayed there, glimmering before it faded, but it remained shining faintly in that hole inside my chest, the hole that was slowly starting to heal over.
Oh God.
So you're like, oh, how wholesome.
Like, oh, seriously.
So it's really cute. And so you see them not only flirty and kind of being, I don't know, lighthearted, but also they're healing each other, both of
Yeah.
them.
Good beginning to a relationship.
We love it. Healthy.
Yeah. Unlike Tamlin. Anyways,
Right.
so after this, they're waiting on Amarin to decode this book and the old ancient language. They're waiting on the mortal queens to hear back from them. Feyre's continuing to train with Cassian, and she's also having no more nightmares.
Right.
So that's good. That's like nice.
Yeah, she must be like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah. So, she really, that hole really is starting to repair itself.
We love it.
And we also learn that Feyre is learning about the High Lord. So we in turn learn about like Baron from the Autumn Court, who sucks. He should die. Um, we also learn of Callias,
Yeah, he's like the Winter
the Winter Court.
Court.
Yeah.
I think Thessian is Dawn.
Yeah.
So
So
we usually learn their names, some of their politics.
their powers.
Yeah, just more so backstory, like Hallie just mentioned. It's a really creative way that Favor's learning it. So shocker, like we're learning it too. So
Yeah.
just kind of more politics stuff like that. Nothing super relevant for this book. Just more story build.
Yeah. So then they end up going to the Mortal Lands.
Oh yeah, because the Queen's answer. So they're like ready to meet.
Yeah. So they meet at the Archeron Mansion. And when they
Oh,
they're kind of like in awe because the five human queens winnow in,
and
and
they're
they're,
like,
how the hell can this happen?
you guys can winnow.
Yeah,
Who
but
let you do that?
but they said, I think that like they have some type of powers. Like, was it from the treaty that was made or something?
Yeah, I think they were like, oh, it was so unfair, so they kind of like threw us this bone. But like,
Yeah,
what the fuck? Like, no one knew about this, but whatever.
of all the things you could have, a fucking winnow.
Right. So that shocks them. And then five queens are there, and the sixth one is missing, and they're like, ah, she's sick. Which, remember that? Because she's not fucking sick.
Yeah, no. So definitely sus. And they're talking, and the queens tell them that they know the war is coming, but they really just don't give a shit. And they only
Yeah.
care about their continent, protecting their people.
Right. And so part of this meeting, yes, is for the book to go against Highburn. But part of it also was, oh, let's warn these guys that war is coming so they can prepare themselves. And the queens legit are like, oh yeah, we know, but like
Yeah.
this is an island. Like we have the main continent, which is part of the Fey realms and the human realms, but it's just a larger piece of land we haven't met yet or been to. And they're like, yeah, we're just gonna sacrifice this little island and the people here, and our armies are already getting ready over here. So like pieces of shit.
Yeah. But they're saying, like, oh, like, it's for the greater good. Like, the loss of one life, like, is nothing compared to all the ones that we'll save by protecting our own.
But like I'm sure the people living on this island very much so disagree with that.
Yeah, and
And
they technically have rule over them too.
yes,
So
they
it's
do.
it's still their people.
Yeah, so that Nesta fucking flips.
Yeah, which is surprising.
Yeah, it is.
I
'Cause
was kind of like, oh,
I think it was just like shocking to hear them be like, yeah, you guys are our subjects, but we're not helping.
yeah. Well,
See you later.
well, I thought it was funny how they ask for proof that Rysand is good.
Yeah.
Like they need to, because he's saying help us, whatever, and they're like, well, why should we help you? We've heard all about you. The one who kills people with their minds and blah
Right.
blah blah. And Reese is like, he was like, what do I have to do in order to show you that like I'm serious about this and I'm a good person?
And yeah, they're
Which
like,
is a very
prove it.
vulnerable moment too,
Yeah.
because everyone outside of the inner circle, and I guess like in Valaris, think that Reese is a piece of shit.
Right. And they're like, so prove that you're not. And he's like, fuck. And so we as the reader know he's been protecting this city of Valaris forever.
Yeah.
And so you're just like, shit. Like, how do you prove this? You know? Like, there's a very obvious way, but like, that's a real rough spot to be in for them.
Yeah.
And so that really sucks. So they basically say, you know what? No, we'll catch you later when you have proof that you're good.
Yeah.
Let us know. And then we're not going to come here. We'll come when we feel like it.
Yeah. Which is insane. It's not like they have all the time in the world to just be putzing around.
They're just catty bitches.
Yeah, they are.
And so they're like, okay, fuck. So they go home. And so we now learn about Miriam's story. So, God, here we go. So this is more layers to the Jurian story, basically. And so long, long ago, when Jurian had killed Amarantha's sister, right? He was dating this girl named Miriam.
Who's half human, half fae.
Yeah. And, well, she is, right?
Yeah, she is.
So she's dating Jurian. That's his, like, real girlfriend. Amarantha's girlfriend was just, like, a plot to kill her. Or Amarantha's sister he was dating her just to kill her.
Yeah.
His real girlfriend is Miriam. Great. But then Jurian is like fighting alongside Faye, and Miriam meets Draken. And then she actually really falls in love with him.
Yeah, who's like a Fey general.
Right. And so all of a sudden, Miriam is like, oh my God, like, Jurian sucks.
Love triangle.
Yeah. And so they basically started having an affair. Jurian had no idea for like 3 fucking years because he's just plotting to kill Amarantha's sister.
Yeah.
So he's like, whatever. And so now these two fall in love. Now, basically, the reason we find out the story, anyways, is because it is proof that humans and Fae can get along, that they can, be happy in love. And so these two fucking dip. They go pretend they're dead. They like get a little island somewhere.
Yeah. They take all their people.
And so they just like have this nice, happy human Fae society.
Yeah, they fall off the face of the earth. No one can find them. And the inner circle, Rasan, he wants to find them so that they could help aid them in the war that's coming.
Right, and like Moore's point of bringing up this story was to say they're proof that we're good, that humans and Fae can get along. And Reese is like, bro, they're missing. Like, we can't even find them. Exactly. Like, they're hiding themselves so fucking well. And so that's off the table.
Which is mentioned in a later book, by
yes,
the way.
It is. And so that's just important for plot and just adding more to the whole, like, Amarantha Jurian story. And so that's off the table for proof. So Reese is like, fuck, guys, we have to show them Valaris. And everyone's like, no.
Yeah. Even more, I think Moore was the most upset.
Yeah, because it's like her safe place.
Yeah.
And so to show them Valaris, to also know that like Reese isn't doing some mind trick and making this up, they have to use this thing called the Veritas Orb. What this is it like shows truth. Like there's no questioning it. It's almost like a little projector that like shows whatever you want it to show, but you know that it's like legitimate. But of course, the Veritas Orb is in the Court of Nightmares, which is called Hewn City. So that's the court that Reese has everyone believe the Night Court is. That's what Under the Mountain was based after. Like, this is like the like evil quote unquote Night Court.
And that's where Moore comes from because her father, Eris.
No.
Oh.
Kier.
Eris is the piece of shit that she was supposed to marry.
Yes.
Kier is the ruler of the Hewn City.
Yes.
And so she comes from the Hewn City, and she, ironically, hates her father, hates her family. So, like, whenever they have to go there, she's just not about it. Understandably so.
Right. And so, as Hallee just mentioned, too, so the reason she said Eris was Eris is actually a player in this. There's this guy, Eris. He is one of Lucian's brothers. He's one of, like, the princes of Autumn Court. And the reason that Moore hates her fucking family so much is because they had this whole fucking arranged marriage thing set up for her.
But that didn't go so well. Basically, the Cliff Notes version of this story.
God, everyone has so many stories. It's ridiculous in this half of the book.
But it's nice, though, as a reader, like to learn all this information.
It is nice. It's just we try to lay it out for you guys simply because when you read it all at once, you're like, oh my God, everyone is so like has depth.
Yeah. So Moore and Eris were supposed to get married, but Moore was like, fuck that. No one's going to tell me what to do. So she goes and she ends up getting with Cassian. So now she's like unpure.
Like she's like tainted goods.
Yeah, because she had sex before marriage. And so her family flips out. Autumn Court's like, well, we don't want her now. And her family puts like nails in her stomach and leaves her at the Autumn Court border for Eris to find. And he's just like, leave her there.
Right.
What?
Yeah. And like, oh my God. Okay. So sorry, theory time. I'm going to freak out. So like, also there's all these theories online that like there was a note nailed to her and they were like, was Moore pregnant? Like there's like all these crazy theories, like unhinged. So who knows? But Eris, so he's being painted as this like super fucked up bad guy. Mm-hmm. And we'll talk about him in a lot of books to come. We don't know Eris's deal.
Yeah.
There's more to this story. And in a future book, which I'm sure we'll quote when we get there, but he says, like, Moore knows the truth.
Yes.
But she hasn't told anyone. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't know what I did. And I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, so what the hell happened?
So Eris seems like a dick, but I don't think he is. I think there was more to this story. Either way, whether Eris is good or not, Moore's family fucking sucks. So Kier is like the ruler of the Court of Nightmares. So now they have to go there and Moore's like, well, this is going to suck.
Well, yeah, because she doesn't want to see her family.
Because they suck. And so they're headed there. Reese is like flying with Feyre because obviously she can't fly. And Feyre just starts fucking like asking him crazy shit. Like she's like, if I touch your wings during sex, like what
Yeah.
happens? I'm like, oh my God.
Yeah, I feel like this is like the randomest shit. Like they're going to this depressing fucking Hewn City, which by the way, Amarantha like designed her court under the mountain after this place. And Feyre's concerned about fucking Illyrian wings.
Which I think like in the book she even muses on that and she says, I'm trying to distract him. I can see he's really upset that he's like putting more through this.
Yeah.
But I'm like, you could have used a lot of other things to distract him.
This is true.
And so, of course, because he's super distracted, they end up getting attacked on their way there. And so Reese and Feyre land, Cass and Az land, and there's ash arrows. But they can't find any traces of the arrows when they land or the people who did it. So there was like an attack, but they also don't want Hewn City to know they're vulnerable.
Yeah.
So they're like, you know what? We have 20 minutes to look real quick. They couldn't find anything. And so now they just go and their plan, go ahead, forget about it.
But who's attacking?
Well, we're going to find out. But they fly to Hewn City for now. They're like, okay, that's another day's problem. And so they get to the Hewn City.
Yeah, so the Hewn City is basically described as a place of such terrible beauty. And there's music playing. And mind you, before this, Rasan tells Feyre, like, I have to put the mask back on, basically, and be that dickwad that everyone hates. And Feyre basically has to play the part of, like, his whore now, because that's kind of the deal that it seemed like under the mountain. So they want to keep that reputation going.
Well, right. And like it has to also seem like Reese captured her basically. And like, why is Tamlin's bride here? Like, that she's like Reese's like plaything. So they have to act that out. And Feyre knows this. And she was like, I will do whatever I have to. So we are all consenting here. But that is kind of what they have to do while they're in the Hewn City.
Yeah. And also, the Hewn City is legit a city under the mountain. Like, think
like
of New York City underground.
Yeah, like a sprawling ass place.
You know what? It reminds me of that book. Did you ever read that book? What's it called? And it's like all dark, but then there's like lights. Oh no, this is gonna bother me. It's like a YA book.
I can't wait for her to remember this like in 20 more minutes and she's gonna just yell it out.
Yeah, seriously. Oh my god. Okay, whatever. That's a side quest for another time. Also, Feyre is like not clothed again.
Yeah, they love fucking dressing her in like wisps of fabric.
Which I think is just so insane and kind of raunchy, but like also kind of hot,
Yeah, like she probably looks great. So
yeah. So anyway, so they go into the Hewn City. They go into whatever the throne room, I guess, where everybody's waiting. And Rasan makes his grand entrance, and everyone in the room bows, including Feyre. And, Rasan strolls in. He's like, well, looks like everyone's on time. And she describes verbatim, his fingers were icy on my chin as he lifted my face. Welcome to my home, Feyre Cursebreaker. And
I'm into it.
Oh my god. But she also mentions, like, she has to play the part of the High Lord's whore, who I'd become under the mountain, who the world expected me to be. The dangerous new pet.
Yeah, but like it's one of those things where she's definitely like this role play is hot as fuck. Like she's like
they really play into it, man.
Well, yeah.
Things are kind of spicy in front of all these people.
Well, I feel like he was so nervous about her playing into it. Mind you, she's like, oh yeah.
Yeah, she's all about it.
Well, yeah, do tell how about it they get.
Well, anyway, so he like whispers into her ear, just loud enough for everyone to hear, like, oh, try not to let it go to your head. And he starts like moving his hands up her thighs and along her hips and like drawing circles on her leg.
And she's like leaning back into it and she's like ready to have sex with him in front of everyone. Like she's like, I don't give a fuck who's watching. Like I'm into it.
But this is crazy because like they haven't done anything like
they haven't even kissed or like hugged.
Well, no, they have kissed under the mountain.
Oh, that doesn't count.
Okay, yeah. Like in their personal connection, nothing has happened besides the
like,
flirty notes.
Like at that point under the mountain when he kissed her, she was like, "Ew, get off me!" Like now she's like likes him, like they're flirty, but
Yeah.
they haven't even kissed. And now she's like, fucking take me on this throne. That's it.
Yeah.
I want it.
Yeah. So basically, Feyre and Rysand are like putting on this show for everybody so that Azriel, Cassian, and more can go find the Veritas orb.
But like, is it a show? Like that's the theory.
Well, that's the thing, right? I don't know. I mean, she's saying heat filled her face. Um, Even Rysand's self control slipped the leash. Like this, it's just you know. And then Kier mentions like, oh, Tamlin's pet is now owned by another master, which I hate that they reference her like this. Like, ugh, it's just so gross. And then Rysand is like, yeah, you should see how I make her beg. Oh my god.
And you're like,
Jesus Christ.
whoa. But at the same time, so she's playing into it, like she's definitely getting hot and heavy. But then at some point, it's just really sad. She says, I had been so cold, so lonely for so long, and my body cried out at the contact, the joy of being held and touched and alive. I'm like, so this is like actually really sad. Like she's like simultaneously horny and like having an awakening that she's like been so lonely for so long. This poor thing.
And what a way to like come to this realization in front of all these people.
Right, like you're having a physical and emotional breakthrough.
Yeah. And then they start talking to each other like mind to mind.
Oh my god, and it just gets so hot because you're so irresistible. Just like 10 out of 10
Oh
scene.
my god, it's
This was the perfect fucking way for SJM to build sexual tension. I don't care what anyone says.
yeah.
I mean, like, wow.
Uh, Speechless,
And
honestly.
it was a really great way to do it too because it's like, because it's a quote unquote act, the characters still then don't need to acknowledge their feelings afterwards. So you can
Yeah.
draw it out longer, you know what I'm saying?
Oh god, this is crazy.
And so Kier comes back and he's just like shocked and he's like, this is crazy.
Yeah, he
But
went to go get wine.
yeah, and then like they make him stand there just watching them,
Yeah.
holding the wine, like what the fuck? And then so he like gives him the wine finally once Reese is like, oh, you're standing there, haha, okay, fine. He brings him the wine, but then Kier like starts walking away and he goes, you'll get what's coming to you, whore.
Ah!
Oof. Reese didn't like that.
Oh my god. He was like, apologize. And Kier, proud asshole, was not gonna apologize. And then all of a sudden, Rysand fucking disintegrates his elbow.
Yeah, he just fucking breaks his arm in like a million places. He's like, fuck you and anything. Like,
Yeah,
see you later.
and then he even goes on to say you can't get a healer.
Yeah, he like forbids him. He like makes it a rule from his leader.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, fine. And mind you, Moore loves it. It's her dad, and she's like, hell yeah.
Yeah. Do the other one.
Yeah. And so that's how that ends. So clearly the relationship, like diplomatic, is not great between Reese and like the Court of Nightmares. So they leave, and Feyre's like, damn, like you really broke that man's arm in a million places. And so Reese is like, I will kill anyone that tries to harm you, Feyre. Like, I don't think you get this, but like, I will fuck people up for you.
Shit.
And then she like, in her fucking moronic state of mind, like compares that to Tamlin. Mind you, I'm like, that's super hot that he'll do that. But she's like, I don't need protection. Like, Tamlin did that.
Yeah.
And then Reese fucking flips out and he's like, stop comparing me to him. And you're like, ooh, like,
Yeah,
you're like,
she's about to get
shit.
real.
And so then Feyre keeps going because, again, she's making things 20 times worse, as she always does.
Both of her inner childs are coming out.
Yeah, no, literally. And so she's like, what about my story? What about what I want? And he's like, what do you want? And she doesn't say shit because she knows she wants him
Yeah.
and she won't admit it. So she doesn't say anything. And he goes, I thought so. And then because she's fucking embarrassed, she's like, who would want someone broken like you?
Yeah.
And you're like,
Come
damn,
on. That was
sis?
a low blow.
Yeah, so he's like, okay, cool, fuck you. And then so he just leaves. And he's like, I don't want to do anything to do with this. Like, see you fucking later. And so now Feyre's like, ooh, I may have messed up.
Yeah. So now she's feeling bad that like she said those terrible things to him, and he's nowhere to be found. So she thought that if maybe she wrote those like little notes to him again, he would respond.
Nope.
But he doesn't. He full on ignores her, which I'm kind of like, oh, come on. But he's gonna come back eventually.
Yeah,
But, like,
I also am kind of glad he like stuck it to her. Like, you can't say fucked up shit and then be like, like Tamlin would have been like, it's okay, babe. Like,
Yeah.
you say whatever you gotta say. Reese is like, I don't fucking deal with you being a bitch. Like,
Yeah.
I'm holding you accountable, sister. And I'm kind of like, I respect it.
Yeah, which in a way is kind of, giving her that chance to reflect.
Yeah, and she does. And even she, oh, poor pathetic thing. She like tries to be like, Reese, I'm so sorry, in the notes. And then she tries to be like, how am I gonna train? Like joking, like, how am I gonna train when you're ignoring me? Like trying to bait him, and he ignores
Yeah,
all of
he
it.
doesn't do anything. Which I think is funny because later on in the book, she then ignores him for a few days.
Yeah, so you don't fucking like it, but you do it to him, bitch.
Yeah.
So,
Bitch.
while sometimes Feyre really pisses me off, but it's okay. We'll talk about that when we
Well,
talk about other SJM books.
yeah, because
She's definitely like
the worst one.
the least of the female heroines that she writes. She's
Yeah.
like the least cool.
Yeah, she's not. Yeah, there's definitely.
Cooler.
Well, I mean, there's only like 2 other series.
Okay, well, Aelin and Bryce are fucking cool. So,
Yeah, for
yeah.
sure.
Anyway, I digress. So, as Reese is ignoring her, she learns of this thing called Starfall, and they're like, oh, you gotta go. It's a big celebration. But no one will really tell her what it is. So she's like, fuck, okay, I guess I have to go, even though, like, Reese isn't talking to me. Okay, fine. And so she's pretty upset that he's not talking to her, but she gets dressed anyway, whatever. And so then,
Wait. Also, I just
yes.
want to interject here. Amryn is talking to Feyre about Starfall, and she says, Feyre says, sorry, I forgot to tell him that the villain is usually the person who locks up the maiden and throws away the key. And Amryn's like, oh, because she's talking like about Rasan. And Feyre goes, he was the one who let me out.
Right, and that's like, I get chills when I read these quotes, guys.
Yeah,
It's so cute.
seriously.
And in that conversation with Amryn, too, right? Amryn knows that, like, Reese is pissed, but she even says, when Reese came back after Amarantha, he was a ghost. He pretended he wasn't, but he was. You made him come alive again.
Oh.
So now I hope this makes her feel really fucking bad.
Yeah,
Because now you're
seriously.
just crushing him. Like, you bitch.
Well, she makes up for it.
She does. And so she's like, all right, fine, I'm going to go to Starfall. And so Cassian flies her to Starfall up at the House of Wind.
Yeah. And there's also mention that Amryn hates Starfall, which is super interesting.
Yes.
Because they just throw it in there and then don't elaborate.
Well, and they say, yeah, it disturbs her. But when we talk about in a second what Starfall is, there's some theories there for sure.
Yeah. So they're at the House of Wind, right?
Yeah, they're, I think, yeah, up in the balconies. Yeah.
So Feyre's like, oh my God, is Rasan going to show up? And I forget who says it, but they're like, maybe it was Moore.
I think so.
And she was like, he missed too many. Like, he's going to show up. Like, this is our thing.
Oh my God. And it's like one of those things, when we were like younger and you'd wait for your crush to like come to the dance?
Yes,
like, that's
yes.
the vibe. Like, she's like, where is he? Like, looking around doors and shit.
Oh my God. Well, guess what?
He's there.
He appears. And so Reese and her go up to like this
upper balcony.
Yeah. So they're like way up. And we learn finally what Starfall is. And basically it's all these think of like
shooting
stars. And they say that it basically could be like souls traveling like in their yearly travel.
Right, like they're like, it's the same night every year, but they're like flying through the sky. And it's like they're like migration, I think they call it.
Yeah. They're just spirits on a yearly migration to somewhere. Why they pick this day to appear here, no one knows.
Right, and so here's where the Amryn things comes in. Amryn's from like another world, all this stuff, right? She's very like in tune to all this spirituality and, other worlds and other beings. And so it kind of proves that these are other beings, and it would unsettle her, right? Like, she can't leave this world. She can't migrate. And like,
do you think Amryn came to Prithian in like a Starfall?
I don't know. I need to know. I need to fucking know. So maybe, and so
shit.
We also will reference floating spears flying through the air in Silver Flame. So we'll talk more about this, but this is definitely set up. So Starfall is a big fucking deal. And so the stars all start falling. Her and Reese apologize to each other. Okay, yay, funsy, they made up. They're all goody-goody.
Cute little moment, a star whips Feyre in the face.
And this is actually a huge deal. So yeah, the star whips Feyre in the face. and then one hits Rhys in the face.
Yeah. And they're just sitting, and Feyre is like legit cackling, and Rhysand has like the biggest smile on his face, and that's like their first, like, I feel like, real happy moment.
Right, and because remember from episode 3 when we talked about how Rhys was so jealous because Tarquin was getting like genuine smiles out of Feyre.
Yeah.
And so when the thing hits him in the face, she smiles and laughs, and he literally goes, "Smile again." And then she does, and he says,
No.
"You're exquisite." I'm like, shut the fuck up. Like, just from smiling.
Oh,
Because, yeah, it's the first time that she's really showing her true, genuine self. And it's just like a good time, right? Imagine it like super dark, stars,
yeah.
shooting stars, music. Like, the vibe is
Exactly.
immaculate.
And then Rhysand like goes on to say like why he ignored her. You know, he felt like if he stayed it would piss her off more. Like he just wanted to give her some space. So you're like, okay.
Right. And yeah, I didn't follow him at all. I was like, ignore her for longer, honestly.
Yeah. And Feyre wants to paint him in that moment.
Yes.
So she wants to paint this man in all these scenarios that they're in together.
Naked, sad, happy, with stars on his face. Who cares? She's like, I want to paint them all.
And what does that say to you? Come on.
Right.
She's
right.
catching feelings hard.
Oh, for fucking sure. And so she's really starting to vibe on him, right? And so after Starfall, the day after, the morning after, whatever it is, they fly up to the Illyrian war camps because they have business there. Feyre's going to come while they're waiting on Amryn to decode the book, all this fun stuff. And so when they get to the Illyrian war camp, Feyre pretty much asks, she's like, okay, what's up with Tamlin? When did you guys meet? Like, I know that Rhys's family killed Tamlin's family, so like, what's going on with this? And now you find out the fucking truth, which is why I was so mad in like episode 1 and 2. So basically, Feyre says, or not Feyre, sorry, Rhys says that him and Tamlin were like friends. They were cool, right? Rhys and Tamlin used to hang out. He would like train Tamlin a little bit, but eventually Tamlin's father got threatened by it and by Rhys because Rhys was super powerful. And because like this guy was kind of a pussy too, and he was like weaker than Rhys and Tamlin. And so what he did was he talked to Tamlin and found out all of Rhys's personal fucking information and took the brothers and Tamlin and they went to the Illyrian wilderness, found out where Rhys was meeting his mom and sister, and fucking slaughtered them.
Yep.
Like, and then didn't he like send their heads like to them?
No, they cut off the wings.
Well, yeah, they had the wings in the study.
Oh yeah, the heads.
I think they sent them like down the river. Yeah, yes. They put their heads in boxes and sent them down the river. Like, are you fucking me right now? I'm so angry.
Yeah.
And so let us remember, everyone, that Tamlin's dumbass was like, my family was killed by like an enemy court's, high lord. Well, then, yes, we find out that Rhys and his father went and killed them all because they were like,
you instigated it.
Yeah. And so Rhys's father told Rhys, oh, I won't kill like the women, but they end up he does kill Tamlin's mother, which is sad.
Yeah.
But then at that point, Tamlin pops out of the room, smells all the blood, and then kills Rhys's father because he sees what's going on. And then all of a sudden, like him and Tamlin are just staring at each other, and we're like, all right, gotta go.
Like a standoff.
But yeah, long story short, Tamlin betrayed Rhys, his fucking friend, told his family like where these people were gonna be, and then they killed them and did it in like this disgustingly disgraceful way. So AKA
more reason to hate Tamlin.
Yeah, reason 900 to fucking hate Tamlin. I'm so over him. And
too bad he comes back.
Yeah, just wait. Like, we're gonna get real fucking angry. We're gonna rage hard.
Not the rage hard. So basically Feyre is practicing by herself in Illyria, whatever, doing her thing. And all of a sudden, there's Spring Court Sentinels.
There you go.
And Lucian.
Yeah, all of a sudden Lucian walks out of the woods.
Come
like, what?
on, bro. Like, are you kidding me? I remember reading that and my jaw dropped.
Yeah, because it's like she's literally just training with Rhys. Like, they're like, oh, we've been doing this for a few days. Like, we're just spending time, like, whatever, waiting for the next move to play out. And then Lucian pops out and you're like, Lucian.
And, like, he doesn't even say anything nice. He just says, oh, we've been hunting you for over 2 months.
Hunting!
Yeah. Like, she was some sort of prey.
Yeah, and she's pissed. She's pissed.
Well, rightfully so. And he says someone tipped us off that you would be here, but it was luck that we caught your scent on the wind.
Yeah.
Who fucking tipped you off, Lucian?
Hmm.
Important to know for future.
Yes.
And Lucian's like, we have to go. Tamlin's not himself.
Mm.
And he reaches out to grab Feyre and says, like, let's go home. But she winnows away from him.
She's like, haha, bitch, I got powers
Yeah, she's like,
now.
don't fucking touch me. I'm not the High Lord's pet. And she just like unleashes her power. And then Rhysand comes. And whoa, so, Rhys shows up and he's like, oh, little Lucian, like, didn't your mommy ever tell you that when a girl says no, it means no?
Reese is mad funny in these situations. Like, he just says shit and you're like, you're kind of being an asshole, but you're hysterical.
Yeah. And you know what's freaking so annoying is like Lucian basically is embodying Tamlin because he's like, okay, Feyre, you made your point. Now come home. And Feyre's like, I'm not a child playing games. Like, I'm not coming, you know, they've seen her as in need of coddling, explaining, defending, and she's like, I am not that person anymore.
I think, like, unfortunately, Lucian just doesn't know what the fuck is to do, like, what's right and what's
Well,
wrong.
because he's kind of caught between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah, so I really do actually feel for Lucian. Like, I do feel like I agree with you. He's embodying Tamlin, but at the same time, it's like, this poor guy, like, what the fuck else do you do? Because he did try to say, like,
Yeah,
Tamlin, let's train her. Like,
exactly. And at the end of the day, he is under orders from Tamlin, so he has to do it. But she just fucking goes off.
mhm.
She's like, you gave up on me. You were my friend, and you picked obeying him even when you saw what his orders and his rules did to me, even when you saw me wasting away day by day. And Lucian's like, you have no idea, like how volatile all that stuff was, and blah blah blah, mansplaining as usual. And she was like, yeah, but you saw what was happening to me, and you did nothing. She was like, I begged you so many times to get me out of the house, and you just left me alone and shoved me in a room with Ianthe, or told me to stick it out. And Lucian's like, oh, what, is the Night Court that much better?
Right.
And she's thinking back of Valaris, which they don't know about Valaris. So she can't really be like, yeah.
Right. And at the end of the day, like, whatever they think, it's even if she loved this fucking torture fest place, leave her alone. So she's fucking pissed. Like, they're just deciding what's best for her, whatever. And she's like, I will fucking kill you. Like, I will kill you.
Yeah, which is so she goes full beast mode. And just when you thought it couldn't get any crazier, she hits him with this line. And I quote, when you spend so long trapped in darkness, Lucian, you find that the darkness begins to stare back. And this bitch fucking grows wings.
Yeah, she's like, haha, I have fucking wings. And even Reese is like, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa, like, whatever. And so she gets out of that. Like, Lucian's like, all right, like, okay, never mind, like, whatever.
Yeah.
So
Okay, I
that
guess
really,
we'll go.
that really did that. And so Feyre's thinking back, and now she's pissed, right? Because Tamlin essentially ignored her note. Granted, it wasn't as aggressive as Hallee made it sound. But at the end of the day, Tamlin did ignore her note saying, like, I'm good, don't come find me. And she said he chosen to ignore it, just as he's ignored or rejected nearly all of my requests, acted out of his deluded sense of what he believed was right for my well-being. Pop the fuck off, girl. He thinks he knows what's best for you. He doesn't. Keep it fucking moving. So that's great. And so now Feyre and Reese are talking.
So that's great.
I hate him. And so Feyre and Reese are talking, and Feyre's like, what if Lucian grabbed me? And Reese, my fucking
Oh
king,
god.
he says, I would have torn the world apart to find you. And I'm like, fuck yes,
Yes.
you would have.
Yes.
Love that. And so now they're okay, they need to rest because this was a very eventful evening. And so they go to an inn to rest as they keep traveling around. Of course, we have the infamous trope of one bed. So there's one bed in this inn. And they're like, oh no. And of course, Reese is like, I asked for two. I don't care. I'm pumped that it's happening.
Yeah. Did you
And
really?
and so they like, he gets her food. It's a whole thing. Obviously, they start snuggling and they're both like, it's just for warmth. No, it's not.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, they start kind of like feeling up on each other. And Feyre's like, Reese, I want fun. I want distraction. Well, let's just have sex and like that's all it be. But then this dumb bitch, she says that to him and she literally goes, his body tensed behind mine. Okay, because he's kind of like, whoa, that's crazy that you just said that. And she goes, And I wondered if he somehow didn't see it for the lie it was. If he thought that it was all indeed I wanted. Bitch, you just told him that's all
Yeah.
you wanted. So he's like, damn, like, again, you're kind of assuming he likes her. And he's like, well, this sucks. And so, whatever. So, long story short, some cabin in finger banging ensues. They still don't even kiss. Like, crazy. But whatever, fine.
Okay.
And so they have this like little like, fingering rainy outside session. Romantic question mark? I don't fucking know.
Super cash.
But you're also happy it's happening because like after the Court of Nightmares, something had to
Yeah,
happen.
we were just waiting for the next
And
thing.
he also low-key says, he's like, the things that I would do to you, I can't fit because we're in this like dormer type in
Yeah,
room.
small little room.
He's like, I can't even flip you around.
It's like a twin bed.
Yeah.
The guy's got wings. Like,
so he honestly made it kind of sexy. He's like, we're not going to have sex, but it's only because I can't go wild. And you're like, all right, fine. So that happens. Thank God.
So as they leave the inn, they're flying, and guess what the fuck happens? They get shot down.
Well, and the reason they get shot down is because like Reese has been distracted all morning. And I guess we could attribute that to like his sex-addled haze, but it's not because she keeps saying, he wants to say something. I can tell. He keeps opening his mouth, closing his mouth. Like he's like struggling. And so he's clearly debating / battling something. And this motherfucker gets shot right down like a bird.
Way to silence him.
Brutal.
Jesus. So he shot down with ash arrows, poisoned ash arrows. And as we know, ash arrows are lethal to Fae.
Yeah, like that's not good. We don't like it.
These are now poisoned. So they fall out of the sky. Feyre can't find him. She's trying to like talk to him through their bargain bond. And it's just like a black wall of onyx. Like she can't get through. So now she's in full blown panic mode. And she's trying to find where he is. And she comes across these guards. And she just takes them all down.
Dude, she's so fucking pissed that she literally is like, I am going to slaughter them all.
Like, her kill list is just rapidly
like she went from someone who was like tormented and traumatized from killing like 3 Fae. Granted, they were innocent, or 2 Fae because Tamlin was the 3rd.
Mm-hmm.
They were innocent, so I get that. But now she's just fucking ripping people apart.
Well, she's doing it out of like fury. She's so pissed.
Which she
is also, like,
Yeah, so she fucks them
up.
Do
you really just want fun, Feyre? I don't know.
Right. Yeah, this is a lot to do for fucking sex. And so she fucking kills him. And then she grabs Reese, winnows him to a cave. She's like, fuck.
Wait, but the way she found him...
Oh, yes.
She found him, so she couldn't track his scent, but she tracked her scent because her scent
was all over
him because they spent the night in the inn together.
Yeah, and he was probably like
how crazy is that?
That part, I would say in my head I want it to be hot, but I think it's kind of just gross.
It is gross, but it's like ingenious.
No, it is. But I'm just like, ew.
Well, yeah, I mean, not like sexy, but like, you know what I mean.
So she winnows him back to a cave, and she's like, oh, pull all these arrows out because he can't like heal while they're in his wings. And she does it in like a nice way, whatever. But then they start like chit-chatting. Well, he's like listening, but she wants to distract him.
Yeah.
And so she starts chit-chatting with him about like she loves to paint, and she painted this dresser when she was a human, when she was younger.
And so basically the dresser had 3 drawers. Drawers? How do you say that word? Anyways. So she says that she painted Elaine's with little roses, begonias, irises, so like cute little flowery.
Which we will speculate that later.
Yeah, this is all like foreshadowing. And then for Nesta, she painted flames because she was always angry, always burning. And she says here that she thinks that Amber and Nesta would become quick friends.
Love that.
More foreshadowing.
Like foreshadowing.
Yeah. And then she says that for her draw, she painted stars, moons, clouds, and an endless dark sky. She said she never knew why. She rarely went outside at night. But she says, I wonder if some part of me knew what was waiting for me.
So, like, hello, you're in love. Like, come on. And so she gets all these arrows out of him, but he's still poisoned from, like, extra poison on the arrows. And she's like, I can't fucking figure out how to save him. He's completely unconscious. And she's like, you know what? My pal, the cereal. Let's go find them because they will help me.
Mhm.
Mind you, let's remember the last time the cereal just spills all kinds of tea, unprompted, and this time is no different. So she goes, traps the cereal, and she's like, hey, what's up? I need help.
How
She's
do
like,
I save him?
right. She's like, long time no see. And she even says this thing is scary as fuck looking, but she's kind of like, hey, nice to see you again. Like, what's
Yeah.
up? And so she asks, how to save him. And he's, or she, whatever, the cereal, is like, oh, give him your blood because it has the healing gift from the High Lord of Dawn. Great. And she's like, bro, how much blood? Like, it's always so unspecific. And so now he's like, oh, don't worry. Like, a few mouthfuls. Like, you're good. And then she just says, thank you. And she's like, okay, cool. Like, it's going to go away. I got what I needed. And this motherfucker, they go, if you wish to speed your mate's healing, give it this pink flower by the river. And she goes, what did you just say? Like,
Jaw to the floor.
you little shitster. So, oh my fucking God,
And he
Reese is her mate.
and he just says it so casually, like, yeah, the High Lord of the Night Court's your mate. And
And
she's
she's
like
like, what?
spiraling.
And it's even better too, because she goes, does he know? And he's like, yeah, of course he fucking does.
Well, I think it's also interesting how she says not Tamlin's mate. Like that thought runs through her mind.
Yeah, because she's probably like, thank God. Well, I think so. She's been
Sigh of
dealing
relief.
with, honestly, prior to this, she really has been throughout the chapters constantly dealing with guilt and saying, I am starting to like Reese, but like it's only been 2 months since I left Tamlin. That's kind of crazy. And I think in this moment, she mentions, oh, I'm not Tamlin's mate, because I think it's almost reassurance for her, like, oh, these feelings, like, it was almost out of my control.
Yeah.
Not true, because you totally could reject the mating bond,
Hmm.
but
But
I
she also
think,
doesn't know that.
right, I think it's honestly just like a way that she can make herself feel better. And I mean, hey, also way better choice. So I'm totally fine,
Yeah, we're pumped.
totally into it. And so, yeah, I mean, they're mates. And I just love the cereal because how can you not?
And yeah, the cereal comes back with some even more tea later on.
Oh my God, yeah. But right now, she's fucking
Yeah,
pissed.
so she's pissed. She goes back to her sand and she's like, you don't get to ask me any questions. You only get to answer them. And she's like, how long have you known that I'm your mate? And he's like, you trapped the cereal? Like, I just love how he like automatically knew.
Because they're both smart as fuck. So they're just like compatible
Yeah,
and into it.
exactly. So she's like trying to find out, like, oh, like, well, who knows? And he says Amryn and Moore do, but Azriel and
Yes.
Cassian suspect. Can't speak English.
And yeah, so back last episode, episode 3, throwback. When Amryn like sniffed her, weird, and Reese nodded because
Yeah.
Amryn could smell like the mating bonds. Even though
Mhm.
it's like not solidified or in place yet, she could like scent that they were mates.
Yeah, which insane.
Crazy. And that's how Amryn knows.
Yeah, and this poor girl just had no fucking clue.
Oh my God.
And
And
so,
so
yeah, well, she freaks out. She's like, you promised no more secrets, no more games. She's pissed. She has him winnow them back to the Illyrian war camp. And she goes straight to Moore and she's like, get me out of here. I don't want to see him.
she lives, and Reese is still super injured. So he like falls face first in the mud and she leaves him there. And Moore's like looking back and forth, like, oh
Uh-oh.
fuck. And then Moore's like, okay, fine. So Moore like winnows her out. And she winnows her to like this like cabin in the woods, this remote cabin. Mind you, the house is warded, no one could winnow in. Okay, great. Like they need to have the family's permission. It's like a special family cabin. But Moore, she tries to not like meddle, but she does. And she's like, it's not my business. And Feyre's like, so shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And she's like, listen, like he wanted to tell you, like I know he did, because like Moore knows.
Mhm.
And she said, I've never seen him so happy as he is when he's with you. And I don't think that has anything to do with being his mate. And I'm like, damn. And then you get, I honestly get mad at Feyre. I'm like, be fucking happy. Like now
Yeah.
he's stuck with you. Like amazing. I don't
You
know.
have a promised love.
Right. And so then, boom, Feyre's left in this cabin, part 3 of the book. This part, buckle up, fucking ladies and gentlemen. Buckle your britches, buckle your seatbelts. I don't know.
Yeah, the last, so what are we at? Like the
Two-
last 100-ish pages? Sarah J. Maas has this thing where like the last 100 or so pages of all of her books, just like complete annihilation. Just everything that you would not have expected to go wrong goes wrong, and then it just blows up.
And so we're gonna rip through this shit. Get ready.
Yeah, so buckle up.
And so while Feyre's in this cabin, she takes it upon herself to just fucking paint everything. Mind you, it's their like historic family cabin for generations. And she paints every wall, every surface. Psychotic. But while she's doing this, she has all these moments and revelations. I understand why Reese didn't tell me. I told him I wouldn't walk away from him, and then I did exactly that.
Yeah.
Maybe I shouldn't have walked away. And so Moore comes and checks up on her. She says, like, Feyre, hear him out. And she's like, I already decided that I was going to. We're all good. And Moore does say this one thing that makes me, like, kind of cry a little. And she's like, is it so bad to be his mate, to be part of our court, our family, tangled history and all? And she's like, no, it's not. And I had my answer. So this bitch was already gonna, like, forgive him. You know what I'm saying? And so she's already, like, softening up to the idea.
And so Feyre tells Moore, like, okay, like, I'm ready to see him. And he shows up at the door.
Uh-oh.
And she has him sit down in the kitchen, and she starts to make him soup.
The lamest meal of all fucking time.
And she tells him, like, you're going to tell me everything now. Like, I want your whole story.
Oof, and he does. So he literally basically goes back all the way to when he was captured by Amarantha in the war.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like,
wait, but I want to just say, this is chapter 54.
Oh,
so
yes.
Everyone is in this book, like, who reads the series, is obsessed with chapter 55 just because it's all sex.
So much sex.
Chapter 54 is so much more impactful because you learn the story and how one thing led to the other, which led to the other. So you're getting, like, the backstory of why things are so intense.
And honestly, so when I first read the book the first time, I couldn't wait to get to 55 because everyone talked about it. So I almost, like, ran through 54. But my one friend made a really good point. She was like, I like 54 better. And so on the reread, I completely agree.
Yeah.
Like, great sex, yay. But, like, this shit, like I said, buckle up. I mean, it's a real emotional.
Yeah.
And so he starts, like, way back, like, all the way when the war was originally happening with the humans and Hybern and the Fae and all this. And so he was actually captured by Amarantha all the way back then. And then he was her prisoner, and he watched as her and Jurian fought their final battle when she, like, destroyed him, took his eye and his finger. And then he was rescued by his father. And then during this time, he was so injured he couldn't fight. But the treaty was formed and the wall was built. So he was all around for this. And then this is relevant because when Amarantha comes back to Prythian and she, like, starts her fucked up shit 50 years ago, he already had his vendetta against her. Like, I want to kill her. And this is kind of sad, but she has no idea who he is. Like, he has this, like, fucking, like, blood feud out for this lady, and she's like, hey.
This is crazy.
I'm like, damn. That's probably embarrassing.
It's significant. But it's probably just because she was just so much in her rage.
Yeah, exactly.
So basically, when they had the party where she took all the High Lord's powers, he was planning to kill her.
Mm-hmm.
And when the powers started to be taken, when they all sipped the wine, his last act was to shield Valaris. And he reached out to Azriel and Cassie and let them know what was going on, and then it just went blank.
Which, imagine being his friend for that. I'd be like,
like,
no words.
Oh,
panic.
It's just, instant panic for 50 years. And he became her whore, as we know. And
because he wanted to, like, take attention off of anything. He was like, I need to just do this so she doesn't suspect me at all.
Yeah, he was full sending the mission.
Yeah, which, love that for him. I mean, I don't. I hate that, actually. Yeah. But,
which is just another test to his character.
Amen.
And then he says that, 3 years ago, he started having these dreams through somebody else's eyes.
Stop.
And, well, guess whose fucking eyes they were? Feyre's.
Oh, I was going to sing it at you. Oh. And so, yeah. And the dreams at first were foggy. Like, he's like, I see a random paintbrush or, like, whatever. I see, an arrow in the woods, whatever. And then all of a sudden the dreams become brighter and they're not foggy. And he, like, saw the bogey and he's like, what the fuck? Mm-hmm. This person's, like, in Prythian. Exactly. Like, oh my God. And so he speculated that the wall was, like, this kind of filter which made it foggy. And so he didn't know who she was, but then all of a sudden, in one of the dreams, he sees Calamine, and he's like,
Mhm.
"Oh, the only court that has celebrations that big is Spring Court."
Yeah. So he makes an excuse so that he can go to Kalanmai, and he wanted to see like who this person was that he was seeing through the eyes. And you know the famous quote when he says, "There you are. I've been looking for you."
Like, he really has
Yeah.
been for like 3 years, and she's even like, "Holy shit!" So that's why when we first said it, we like reacted like that because like, stop, like he really was like,
Exactly. Full circle
he
moment.
really was like, "There you are. I've been looking
Yeah.
for you." And so he knows nothing about her. He's like, this is weird as fuck. There's a human here. I don't know what the deal is. But he decided in that moment, like, okay, I'm going to just let her go. Like, no big deal. I'll forget about her.
Mhm.
I'll move on with my life. Fine. Okay.
So then Amarantha sends Reese to the spring court to basically mock Tamlin, um, and to scare him basically. And then that's when he sees her, and that
Yeah. He's like, oh, fuck.
yeah.
Because he, like, all of a sudden, he's like, wait, like, I know this person. And then he even says, he's like, I saw you looking at Tamlin like you loved him. And I saw him looking back at you like
Yes.
he loved you. So, first of all, now he's like, well, that's unfortunate for me.
Yeah.
Second of all, he's like, this is bad news bears.
Yeah. Exactly. So you know he, which is crazy that he then goes on to say that like he was praying that Tamlin would send her back over the wall, which he did, because he didn't want Feyre to get caught by Amarantha.
Hmm.
And then he goes to Claire Better, into her mind to take away her pain, to bring her over the wall, and then she's in under the mountain, and then fucking basically makes her brain dead while Amarantha's torturing her, so she doesn't have to experience anything.
Which, like, kind of nice. I mean, like, better than the alternative.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
sure, like, he feels bad that this random girl got involved as well. So he
Yeah.
just makes it as good as, like, possible for her, question mark, which you're like, okay, I appreciate that. And so then he's like, cool, it's over. Amarantha thinks this random girl is dead. We're moving on with our lives. The girl that I met is fine somewhere.
Hmm.
And then fucking Feyre waltzes in, and he's like, he even says he feels horror, which clearly more than fucking Tamlin feels. I
Yeah.
mean, you know.
Even though he loves her.
And so, oh my gosh, at this one point, so he says he feels horror at this, but then he says he finally learns her name for real, because she says it.
Yeah.
And he says, then I learned your name. Hearing you say it, it was like an answer to a question I'd been asking for 500 years. Are you fucking kidding me? I would be like, eat the soup right now.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't need to hear anymore.
no, we're locked in. And he said after that moment, he's like, I decided to fight. Like, I was ready.
Yeah.
Done deal. All for you, baby.
Exactly. So then he, puts on the facade to be someone that Pharaoh would hate. And he made her dress the way that he did, and like drink the wine so that she wouldn't remember anything that went on, which we knew that. And we also know that he's pissed and jealous of Tamlin because Feyre was fighting for Tamlin. Tamlin wasn't doing shit, and
Yeah, and
Reese was
then,
putting in all this work, and she wasn't even cognizant that like he was trying to help her.
right, and the one time Tamlin sees her, he fucking tries to have sex with her, and he's probably like, you fucking loser.
Yeah, like
You're a lame ass
come
loser.
on. And then he starts crying about how Amarantha snapped her neck, and he wanted to die with her.
Stop. And so he's like, I
Oh,
felt you die, and I'm like, mind you, I'm sobbing at this part of the
yeah.
book.
And then basically, I just want to like interject here and be like, do you think
Hallee looks serious. I'm like really getting ready.
this is all great and amazing and we're like, oh my god, like blah, blah, blah. But like sometimes I can't help but like think that like what if like Tamlin had a redemption arc like this?
Okay. Fuck. So I'm so sorry. I'm gonna piss off so many people. Do I want to say this theory
Yeah,
yet?
you do.
Okay. I think Tamlin's gonna end up with Elaine. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Guys, listen, I don't want it to happen. I just think from day one, Feyre's like, Elaine would love the spring court. Elaine's made of flowers. Elaine this, Elaine that. She smells like springtime.
Yeah,
Like
she's described
constant.
as like a docile deer.
Mind you, I think Tamlin's fucked up. We're gonna learn more about him. We're also gonna learn more about Elaine. I think that Elaine would be the perfect person to like tender him down and like tame him. I also think
Or
we've
for him to control.
hopefully not, but kinda. Elaine's like a fucking wet rag, so whatever. Um, I don't know. And I also think, okay, I'll get more into that theory later, actually. Keep that in mind. But just right now, there is some foreshadowing that Elaine would love the spring court, belongs in the spring court. We'll definitely talk more about this theory. I don't want to spoil too much in advance, but we'll get back there. But Tamlin could have a redemption arc. There's little nuggets as we go forward. I hate him for Feyre. Maybe that's my point.
Okay.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
hate it if he had like a redemption arc. I'd rather him not be a piece of shit, to be completely honest with
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
So we're still gonna Tamlin bash for a while, but we also will talk about his potential to fucking get it together.
We
You know what I'm
also
saying?
hope the best for him,
Not yet, but I will
So,
eventually.
anyways, sorry for that sidebar.
Anyways, totally fine. I'm into it. And so Feyre also in this moment realizes that the home that she felt at the end of like the bond when she was dead wasn't Tamlin, it was Rhys. Love that. And so Rhys, when he sees her, remember on the top of like that balcony in the mountain when he like looks at her and he stumbles back and he winnows away.
Yeah.
So the mating bond snapped for him and he like knew that she was his mate.
Yeah.
And so he's shocked. So that was that little foreshadowing. And then breaks my heart. He winnows back home. 50 years, hasn't seen his family, no one's heard from him. He winnows back and sees Moore, and his first words to Moore are, "She's my mate," and starts sobbing.
Oh my god.
Chills. Are you fucking kidding me?
Come on.
And so then he's like, the day of the wedding, I was gonna be just fucking hammered.
Yeah.
I was over it. But then he hears her and he's like, "Gotta go, Cassian."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Okay, like, what are you doing?" Brings her back. And then he like says, "I knew I loved you when you threw the bone at Amarantha." Like he's loved her for so fucking long. But mind you, in that moment, he says, "I knew I loved you." Like he's kind of just saying it like for fun, not for fun, but just casually.
Yeah.
And Feyre basically goes, "You love me?" Like, like that's all she took from that whole conversation. And he's like, and he just nods. And then
she says, "Then eat."
she fucking accepts it. She's like, yes. And also,
wait, we also should probably have mentioned that she's making him soup because the way that you accept the mating bond is to feed your mate food, like make your mate food.
And then that means that you accept it. Yeah, sorry, that's really relevant to realize. You're like,
you're probably, why is she making soup? Why is he eating soup?
Yeah, you're like, why did that mean that? Yeah, so by her telling him to eat means that she made him the food and that she officially accepts the bond. So that's it. And then, so after that chapter, the impactful one, now chapter 55 comes, which everyone talks about, and it's because they're a bunch of horny little motherfuckers.
Yeah, exactly. So legit, we're not going to go into this detail here because it's literally X-rated, but they just have a whole ton of sex.
The only thing honestly of note, like honestly, super well-written smut, highly recommend it. They start having sex. There's paint involved because, she's painting the whole fucking house because she's a psychopath.
Yeah.
They get paint everywhere, and they're just having the best time ever. But while they're having sex, that like solidifies the bond and the bond snaps into place for them.
Yeah.
Aw.
Love that for them. They're just amazing. I just can't. But anyways, what I struggle with is like this concept of a mate.
I'm not surprised, but tell me why.
Like, where does it begin? I don't know. See, so you have a mate who is predestined for you by the cauldron in this book, at least, right? Which I guess could be like aligned to like soulmates in real life, I guess, if you believe in that kind of stuff. But it's like almost like, what if you have a mate and you don't fucking like them and you're stuck with this person forever unless you reject the bond? But
that's gonna be relevant. I'm telling you.
I know. But anyways, my issue with the mate thing is like this is it for life. Like if you accept.
I mean, I feel it's kind of.
Like it's nice. Like I think like that's great.
I guess like in real life you can get divorced, right? Like it's an option. But in theory, when you marry someone, it's also for life.
Well, divorce rates are up to like 50% or some shit like that.
That's bleak, Hallee. I'm just saying
don't get married.
Yeah, me getting married in 3 months. Yeah, I feel like the concept is like forever. I do get what you're saying. It's like not chosen.
Yeah, but like it's also like this is like intense shit. Like,
yeah,
and
like
I feel like
bonding.
it's not really I feel like the impact of it is not really explained that well in the books.
Well,
It's just like, you're my mate, and then it's like, oh my god, like we have this unbreakable bond. Like this is like legit shit.
well, they say it also means you're equals, like in power and all that stuff. And like, I think at one point, I forget who says it, but they reference and say, oh, there's also speculation, like not soulmatey, but like that mates could have been a concept just for like breeding, like that you'd have the most powerful heir because you're like
Yeah.
equals.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they also kind of don't know what the deal with it is. They just know it's like a
Mm-hmm.
thing. But slight spoiler, skip ahead if you don't want to hear it. They say the mating bond is rare, but we see two matings.
Everybody fucking has a
Yeah,
mate.
we see two matings in this series. So that's why, again, spoiler, we'll find out in a second, why I think that Elaine could be with Tamlin because she has a mate who is not Tamlin.
Yeah.
And I think it'd be so fun for SJM to write someone rejecting the bond because
Mm-hmm.
she hasn't yet.
Yeah.
So I'm into that. So I don't know. I'm also, yeah, it's like a little control-y weird vibe,
I don't
but they're
know.
both into this. And they do say, like, I would hate it more if they said, oh, you can't reject this.
Oh,
There's
for
still, like,
sure.
free will, you know?
I mean, like, I love it for them. I think it's great.
Way to
Her
shit on them.
her mating bonds, whatever, in the other books and her other series are great too.
Mhm.
But like, it almost takes away. It's like 50-50. One part of me is like, oh my god, like they go through all this stuff and it's because they're mates, like this is great. But then the other part of me is
Why
it
not just do
almost,
it out of love?
yeah, like why does there have to be something connecting them beforehand that they don't know about? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do get you. Why can't it be, like, a super attraction? But I kind of like it. I don't know. I get what you're saying, but I'm like, this is crazy. Like, the, like, tangled thread that brought them together.
Yeah,
Like,
it's like the red string theory.
yeah, exactly. So I kind of, okay, fine. So,
That was a long tangent.
no, I'm into it. Like, I agree with what you're saying. But then, so their mating bond does snap into place. They have tons more sex. Again, we don't necessarily feel like reading it and like turning into like phone sex operators, but it's a great smutty chapter. And so at the end, they're talking about children, and he basically says, okay, like we don't need to have kids yet. If you ever honored me with that, like I would love it, but we don't have to.
I literally hate that they're talking about children.
And she says, I want to live first with you. I want to see things and have adventures. And selfishly, I want to have you all to myself for a while. Please fucking remember
Yeah,
this.
it's really ironic you say that, Feyre.
Hint fucking hint. We'll talk about that because there is more to it, but we'll go into it. So I just wanted to mention that she says this now. So they go back to camp, and apparently when the mating bond happens, the men get super fucking dicky and like possessive. And so they go back to camp, and Cassian's like hard ride, and he knows like that Reese is going to be super volatile for the next like week because of the mating bond. He'll be really possessive and like freaky. And Reese does warn Feyre about this. And so Cassian's like mating bond chafing a bit Reese and then just like ties up his hair because he's like, okay, Reese is going to beat the shit out of me.
Yeah.
And he does this so like Reese can blow off steam, which I just love that. That's why I love Cassian. I'm like, and I'm also just imagining like Jason Momoa tying up his hair and I'm like,
That one clip when he's like in an interview.
and he ties up his hair.
Yeah.
Oh God, I have dreams about this guy.
But I also think it is like really cute, kind of heartfelt that like when they get back, the whole inner circle stands as one before Feyre, and they all bow to her and they say, "We will serve and protect." But
Yeah,
she's
like-
like, I'd rather you guys just be my friends, and they're like, "Yeah, but we still will, bow to protect you."
We're your friend, Feyre, but we're gonna protect you as well. So
Exactly.
yeah, super cute, like mutual respect vibes going on. We love that. And now that we've established the romance, they're like, oh, by the way, the queens want to meet. Time to go.
Yeah.
Okay, fine.
Yeah, so they're spirited away back to the mortal lands, and they meet the queens. And I mean, long story short, they show Valaris in the orb, and the queens are like, "Yeah, we're not convinced." So everyone's like, "What the fuck?" They're all freaking out. The queens leave, but the youngest queen, the Golden Queen, she leaves the Book of Breathings for them.
Yeah, she's like, I'm in on it, guys. We're all good to go. And what's even crazier too is while they're trying to convince the queen like reveals that Reese wrote her a letter weeks ago saying like, I'm a fae in love with someone who used to be a human. Like,
Yeah.
please, like we can reunite our lands. And Feyre's like, damn, weeks ago, like you were in love with me. So that's just like a cute little side note. But yeah, so the one queen is totally on their side. They now have the second part of the Book of Breathings. So they go back. Now they're like, Amryn, figure out this fucking code. Time is of the essence, sister. And so she's doing that. She's trying to crack the code. Feyre's just out walking with Cassian. All of a sudden, shit feels weird, and they look, and there's all these like fucking creatures flying. And Feyre's like, "Are they birds?" And Cassian's like, "Get back to the house!" And she's like, "No." So now the Battle of Valaris happens, which again, it's really fucking shitty because this has been a secret for centuries, and
Yeah.
because they showed the queens, the one queen like showed Hybern.
Yeah.
So fucked up.
And the Golden Queen who left the book for them
Oh.
gets fucking staked.
Yeah, all of a sudden falls out of the sky on like a lamppost. Bye, bitch. They're like, oh, okay, fuck, we're so screwed. And so Feyre runs the rainbow. She's like, this is my home, and she's really resonating. Like, this is where I belong. And she knows that they're like, artists, that they're kind of pansies, like they can't fight for themselves. So she's like, I'll fight for them. And so then all of a sudden she's there. She's fighting. She's throwing water wolves. She's doing all kinds of badass shit. And you're like, oh my God, I love it. I'm here for it. All of a sudden the adder comes and you're like, oh my God, this dude again.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's flying away because they're like starting to take over and they're getting the city back. Feyre sees him flying away. She's like, not on my watch. She winnows like through the sky, lands on him. They start free falling. She's like stabbing him.
Yeah.
And she's like,
this is for Rhys. This is like, what else is
for Claire?
Yeah, this is for Claire.
This is for me.
And this is for me. And then fucking winnows out of there and lets his body go splat all over the cobblestones.
So he's dead.
Thank
Done
God.
deal. And so that was epic. But now the city is saved. And guess what? Amryn cracked the code. Sounds good.
And also, after this, Rhys gives Feyre the ring that she retrieved from the Weaver's cottage. Which is basically her engagement ring.
Yeah, like he tells her, my mom put it there and said, any person who can retrieve it is like worthy of you. And she's like, did you make me get my own engagement ring before we were even like friends? And he was like, yep. Like, okay.
But he's known the whole time, so.
Yeah.
Oh,
but it's cute. God. She didn't, but it's okay. I still like support that a little bit.
Yeah, it's just like super cute. They're talking about how they deserve each other. And I also think it's funny how Rhysand is like, okay, like, so which room are we taking, yours or mine? And which is crazy because Tamlin was so insistent that they had their own rooms.
Right. And SJM definitely puts that to be like, yeah, Tamlin sucks.
Yeah.
And even Feyre says like, oh my God, really? Like Tamlin wanted his own room. And Rhys is like, he's a weirdo. And then Feyre's like, oh, we can go in this room. And Rhys had already moved her stuff into it. So it's like cute, you know, like they're just a better vibe. And so we end the chapter with them being cutesy, but it's kind of important. And she's basically saying, I want to do it all. Let's get the bond declared. Let's get married. Let's throw a party. Like, you could do all kinds of different things because you're a fae and you have, like, extra stuff. You know, weddings/bond. Yay. Pick your one. Pick your poison. And Rhys goes, what if I wanted to go one step beyond that? And she goes, I'm listening. This is going to be important. And so we end that chapter, and now we're on our way to Hybern, guys, because Amryn cracked the code. She tells Feyre, under no circumstance do you attach the two halves of the book. Okay. They go to Hybern. We see the cauldron. It's like this like mighty thing. It's beckoning to Feyre. The Book of Breathings is calling for home. Mm-hmm. And Feyre puts the fucking book together. So now the power is like overtaking her.
Yeah.
Granted, the cauldron in the book like kind of like overtook her, and it wasn't like she just did it by herself.
Yeah.
But either way, bad. And so Feyre is like bleeding from the nose. She's just overwhelmed with power. And all of a sudden, they're caught. Jurian comes in. And you're like, okay, this is not good for us.
Yeah. So then the king of Hybern fucking comes out of nowhere and he's like standing at the top of these stairs. And Azriel gets shot in the chest.
And they're like, well, I guess we should go with them.
Yeah, so they have to go with the king. And guess who fucking comes out of nowhere? Lucien and Tamlin. These two-timing, backstabbing, pussy-ass boys show up. And everyone's like, what the fuck? And then we learn that Tamlin and the King of Hybern have a bargain.
Like, of course they do. You fucking idiot.
So it's kind of played off that, like, Tamlin was so desperate to get Feyre back that he would have done anything, which means aligning yourself with literally the worst person.
Well, right. And the bargain was, if he agrees to let my forces enter Prithian through his territory, we'll use Springcourt as a base to remove that wall, and then we'll get you Feyre back. So you're sacrificing all these humans and her sister, and you think that she's going to be like, yes, I love you. Like, you're a fucking idiot. So he absolutely sucks. And on top of that, when you find out how dumb he is for this bargain, Tamlin's like, Feyre, come here, and like snaps his fingers. Like, I would go there and punch him right in the fucking teeth.
I know, but
So
they couldn't.
He's an idiot. And so Feyre's refusing. She's like, get away from me. Now mass chaos is breaking out.
Yeah. And then on top of that, the King of Hybern was like, oh, well, there's one more little, caveat to this bargain.
Surprise!
Fucking Elaine and Nesta show up.
Yes, he drags them out with like, what's it called around their mouths? Like gags.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, your sisters are here, and the queens.
Yeah, and the queens are there too. So it's just like a giant fucking rendezvous.
Right, because it's like as like Feyre's fighting Tamlin, like punching, I think Rhys punches him in the face, all this stuff.
Yeah.
The king's like,
Feyre throws a knife at him.
Yeah, the king's like, oh, children, stop it. Feyre, look, your sisters are here.
Yeah.
And she's like, what? And so he's like a deranged fucking lunatic. And basically the king reveals that he wants to put Nesta and Elaine in the cauldron to turn them into Fae. And his theory for this is the queens want to be Fae because they're like, slighted. They're like, we're humans, no powers. We want to be Fae and like stick it to these fucking loser Fae assholes who like,
Which
put
is
us in
crazy
the corner.
because humans fucking hate Fae and now they want to become
Well,
them.
they just want power to like, give it back to them,
I
like
guess,
have a fair chance.
But what did they think was going to happen after that?
Right. I don't know. And so the king's like, oh, we have your sisters because we're going to test it out on them. And then you find out that we were correct in fucking hating Ianthe. And he's like, why do you think I asked my dear friend Ianthe to see who Feyre Archeron would appreciate having with her for eternity? Like making it great. Mind you, they hate Fae. So this is like the worst fate her sisters could imagine. Granted, I'm like, I'd be fucking pumped. But fine, it's traumatic for them, so we're gonna go along with that. And so Feyre's trying to crawl to Azriel to get him to heal. He wants to like, drink her blood because she has her blood, the Dawn powers. Cassian's wings are like torn apart. He's bleeding out on the floor.
Yeah, everyone's in shambles.
Everyone is mass mayhem. So now, amid this though, more theorizing, the king says to Mor at one point, he looks at her and says, what a mighty queen you are. What a prize. Again, we don't even know at this point of the 5 books written what the fuck Mor's deal is. Guys, you're hearing it here first. She's the High Lady of Duskcourt. Don't care. That's what I think. Okay, moving on. So now the king's like, all right, Elaine, you're up first. In you go, sister. And Tamlin,
throw her ass in.
And Tamlin and Lucien, to their credit, are like, this was not part of the plan. Please stop. Doesn't matter. They're like, whatever.
Nesta's fucking pissed.
Because, Nesta dotes on Elaine. So she's like, it's almost a worse fate than like her going in.
Exactly.
Watching Elaine. And everyone's like vomiting and like bleeding. It's like a whole fucking disaster.
And then the cauldron spits out Elaine. And then Hybern's like, all right, Nesta, you're next.
Yeah. And Nesta fights way harder. Nesta is like freaking out. She's fighting. And then they dip her ass into the cauldron and she like points to the king. Like, I'm going to fucking kill you. And you're like, okie dokie, Nesta. And so Nesta is different. And Feyre even says that. Even before she took her first breath, like once they dumped her dumb ass out, I knew she was different. From however Elaine had been made, Nesta was different. So now these two are both Fae. They both got their little pointy ears. They're glowing and stuff.
Okay, but to make matters even fucking crazier, speaking of mates, the chapter ends with Lucien's whispering to Elaine, you're my mate. What? Where did that come from?
Okay, so back to my theory. I feel like, guys, if Elaine picks Tamlin and now Lucien's the mate who's like Tamlin's BFF, the drama, I need it. I, again, don't really want or support it, but I think that would make for amazing reading. So that's it.
But then I also think that maybe she will accept the mating bond and like Tamlin will welcome like Lucien. Oh wait, they don't know that yet. Anyways, Lucien and Elaine will go back to the spring court and she could be like a lady in the spring court, but like by Lucien's side.
I guess, but I don't know. Whatever, fine. And so now Hybern is pumped. They're both Fae. So he's selling it to ladies. He's like, see, I showed you not once, but twice that it's safe. Who should want to go be made first? Perhaps you'll get a handsome Fae Lord as your mate, too. Like, he's like a fucking salesman. And so things are in shambles. Again, the inner circle, defeated, bleeding, crying, can't do anything. They're restrained. Everyone is super upset. But now Feyre has a plan.
So she has this idea that she needs to sacrifice herself in order to buy time for everyone else to escape. So basically, she like erupts with this bright light, which is another power that she got from what, like Dawn, I guess.
I think
Dawn
so,
Court.
yeah.
And
Ooh, who's the guy called Spell Cleaver? Helion. Where's he from? Day.
Day Court.
So it's the Day Court power.
Day Court. So when she erupts with this power, she actually like breaks all the wards in the castle so that they could escape. And then when she like comes, like she falls on the floor, and then she like gets up, and she's like, "Oh my God, Tamlin!
Yeah, like
Tamlin!"
She acts like when she broke the spell, really she's breaking the wards to get her family and like the inner circle out, but she's acting like she broke the spell on herself and that Rhys was mind controlling her. And she's like, Tamlin, don't let them take me back there.
Yeah.
And like you're like, whoa, this bitch is smart and crazy. But you're like, wow, that's deep.
What a gamble. But you know, she's talking to Rhys through their bond, like, please play along, like get my sisters out of here. And she tells the King of Hybern to break the bond between her and Rhysand. And Rhysand's like,
heartbreaking.
No. And I remember reading that for the first time, tears.
Well, even like now,
sobbing.
I can't breathe. Like, and honestly, even the chapter where you just said like everyone's a shit show, it's a really intense read, guys. Like we just said like, oh, everyone's bleeding and dying, but like, holy shit, when you read it, go read it because it's wild. You like can't breathe when you're reading it. And so she's like, yeah, and then like even this, we're saying it so simply, like break the bond. They're like screaming. It's like break the bond. He's like, no.
Yeah, it's so freaking dramatic, but then he breaks the bond.
He does.
It's not their mating bond.
Yes, so
it's the bargain bond. Thank God.
And so the king lets them go. He's like, see you guys later. But then as soon as the inner circle winnows out, the king's like, where's the book? And he thought Feyre had it. But the inner circle, doom. I would say
boom,
bam, and done. I don't even know. I got excited. And so they winnow out before he realizes. And so they're like, boom, we have it. That's what I wanted to say. And so Feyre's like, I don't know who has it. You're a mistake. And so they have the book, thank God. And now Feyre, Tamlin, and Lucien winnow out as well. They go back to Spring Court.
Yeah. And then we get a Rhys chapter.
We got like a fun little bonus Rhys chapter.
Which is amazing.
I love being in his head.
Seriously.
All the time, please.
Yes,
thank you.
Love him. So basically, you know, Rhys tells the inner circle that it was the bargain bond that was broken. And he reveals that, you know, not only that Feyre and him still have their bond intact and that she's going to play like double agent for them.
Like she's going into Spring Court to like fuck them up from within. Like she's going to act like she loves Tamlin and just destroy this dumb motherfucker.
Exactly. But then we also find out that she is now the High Lady of the Night Court.
So when Rhys said, like, can we go one step further? He went and they went to a priestess and they got made High Lord and High Lady. So he's like, she is my equal in all ways. She is not my consort. She is not my wife. Like, she is High Lady. Again, fucking chills. And also, as we heard this whole book, oh, there can't be High Ladies. Fuck you, Tamlin. Yeah. Like, she is a bad bitch and she is ready to fucking play. And so yeah, they got this plan. They're ready. And so thank God their bond is still there. It was just their bargain bond. Stupid. Who fucking cares about that? Exactly. Like she's living with him and is his High Lady. Yeah. So we're all good.
And Amber even says like the King of Hybern is stupid. Like no one can break that kind of bond.
And so guys, our book ends with this fucking epic quote. And so Tamlin unwittingly led the High Lady of the Night Court into the heart of his territory. Boom. Book over. Holy shit. We love this book.
Oh my God. Just I don't even know how to explain. Like, I feel like it's one of those moments where like you just had to be there kind of thing.
And I feel like honestly to me, I always love like an origin romance. So like that's why I like this one more than this I'm so excited, sorry. Why I like this one more than the third one. The third one's fantastic.
The third is right underneath this one for me.
Yeah, so guys, get ready for more freaking out.
Oh my God. That book. Now, that's crazy because that's when the war happens.
Yeah, so guys, next week, get ready. We're going to do the first half of A Court of Wings and Ruin. The war's happening. We're ready. Get ready for war, for bloodshed, for more romance, more Tamlin fuckery. It just gets worse. Yeah. So get ready.
It just progressively is just like just falling down, man. Like,
So we hope you guys liked this book as much as we like this book, and we will see you guys next week for A Court of Wings and Ruin.
see you there.
Bye.